Hello and welcome to the Elemental Entrepreneurship Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I have your winter solstice and Capricorn season oracle card reading for the collective ready to go. But before I get into these cards, I want to make a few announcements that I think are pretty exciting about what's going on with me and with Intuitive Edge Coaching, what you can get from me for the rest of the year and kind of what's coming. So if you've been rocking with me on this journey for a little while, you may have heard me talk about the fact that I've been in a big liminal space with my business. I've been in a space of knowing that I was going to change things, but not knowing what I was going to change them to. I stopped selling Elemental Entrepreneurship Coven, which was my signature offer for a couple years. Over this past year, I've been in a space of just following what felt fun and intuitive for me, trusting that I was going to come into some clarity around where my brand was headed and what I was doing next. Very recently, that clarity has started to drop into place. So, in 2025, there's going to be a lot of big changes. You're probably going to see the name of this podcast change. You are probably going to see all of my branding change. You're going to see a difference in the ideal client that I'm speaking to. And you're also going to see that a lot of my offers are going to change. So here's what's coming up. For one thing, I have a couple of one-on-one coaching spots available for 2025 in my Best Year Yet program. It is my most intimate coaching program that gets you access to me for the entire year, really as a partner in your business and in your work. I am with you every step of the way. We meet 3 times a month. You have Voxer access to me. You have my eyeballs on every piece of content and copy, all of your plans, all of your strategy. You have me really in your business for the entire year. So if you are interested in working with me one-on-one in the most high touch way that I have available, I have a couple of spots that are still open for that. The next thing is Mush Week. Mush Week is my end of year retreat. It happens on December 27th, 28th, 29th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. PST. And it is just a beautiful, relaxed opportunity to be guided through wrapping up 2024, getting your books in order, kind of going through the back end of your business, making sure that everything is the way that you need it to be, looking at next year, reviewing your own ideal client, your marketing pillars, reconnecting with your big why, and making sure that you are aligned for next year with what you want to be delivering. And then looking through your offer suite, noticing gaps that you could fill with new programs, looking at your marketing strategy for the year ahead, looking at your launch calendar and setting your schedule of offer launches for the year. And then also planning what you want your life to feel like and ways you want to prioritize your self-care for the year ahead. We do all of that at Mush Week. It is really, really valuable high-level CEO time that a lot of leaders will not take without some urging, some prodding, some body doubling. Even really high level leaders sometimes struggle to take that dedicated time behind the scenes to just work on their business and not in your business. And I find the week between Christmas and New Year's to be a really great time to do that because there's nothing else going on. Usually there's not a lot of meetings on the calendar. It is a lovely time while you're relaxed to just comfortably at a leisurely pace kind of do some of this deeper work. So that's what we're going to be doing during Mush Week. It's only $77. You can sign up for that right now, intuitiveedgecoaching.com/mushweek, MUSH, Mush Week. And finally, after Mush Week, for a very brief period of time, I'm going to do a limited opening of Elemental Entrepreneurship Coven at 50% off for the year. This is 100% the last time Coven is going to open its doors. I do not know if Coven is going to be completely closed down to new members. I will allow the members who are in it to stay as long as they'd like, or if it will just be rebranded, but Coven as we know it will not exist after next year. So this is going to be the last chance to get in. If you've been telling yourself every year that next year is the year you're going to join, next year is the year you're going to start your business, I would highly recommend hopping in on this. It's going to be an incredibly good value for the price. It's only going to be open for a limited time and no false urgency. It just will not be opening again because so much of my brand is going to change next year. So Coven is really for you if you need to get yourself to consistent 5 to 8K months. This is the spot for you. So just make sure you're on my email list. And if you're not, you can go to intuitiveedgecoaching.com/sign up and get yourself on the list. Make sure that you have post notifications turned on for me on Instagram so that you can get those links when they drop, because that is going to be a very limited time offer. And again, it will never exist again after next year. So those are just some pretty big announcements that I wanted to share with you. If, as you're listening to this, you already know either you want to work with me one-on-one, you want Mush Week, you want in on the Coven sale, whatever it is, feel free to DM me on Instagram at Intuitive Edge Coaching. Just let me know what you want and I will make sure that you get in. So that's all of my news. Really wanted to make sure that I got that out up top. Let's get into your cards. If you are new around here, these cards, I always do the same 6 questions in the same order. The cards have been pre-shuffled, prayed over. If you see me looking over here, there's 2 things. One is that I'm live in 2 places at once, and also I'm looking at my notes. So that's what's going on. So we start always with what's going on right now. And the card that came up for what's going on right now is what you want wants you. There's 2 potential meanings for this card that I'm feeling, and kind of 2 potential people this card could be for. So I'm going to speak to you both separately for a second and then together. So for one type of person, you're really struggling to believe right now that what you want wants you, that what you want is possible. You have been shamed and judged, and you've been made to feel guilty over or denied your desires, your pleasures for so long in your life that you've just developed a very tricky relationship with your own desire. My best friend is here. You may see her walk by at a certain point. Megan's here. And Megan and I talk a lot about things we tried to convince ourselves that we could settle for in relationships in the past. That is the vibe of this card. This is like, you've been made to feel that the things you actually want are just not possible, or that they can't be overcome, or that they need to be avoided. You've convinced yourself that you're okay with settling for second best or less than you want because you struggle to believe you're worthy of the thing you actually want, or you struggle to believe the thing you actually want is possible for you. Maybe you've convinced yourself that like getting what you actually want is something that happens for other people, but it can't happen for you. So that's one type of person that this may be talking to. For the other type of person, it's not that different. It's just you used to feel that way, but now you're starting to come to a place of believing that it is possible for you to have what you want. You're starting to get more comfortable with admitting what you want to yourself and to others, and like claiming it loud and proud so that you can go after it. Because remember, if we can't even say what we want, we can't go after it. So often I hear people say, even a simple example when it comes to pricing, I'm like, how do you want to price this offer? And they'll be like, well, I would love to charge $500 a month for this, but I don't think anyone's going to pay that. So I was thinking I could ask for $350, but I would settle for $300. So in one sentence, you've like talked yourself down from what you really want. You won't even all the way admit the thing you want because you've already started convincing yourself it's not possible. And so starting to get comfortable with just saying, no, I want to charge $500 a month for this, and that's what I'm going to charge. You have to be able to say that before you can even try it, before you can even have that result. So you gotta be okay with owning 100% of what you want. So for either of you, whether you're still stuck in that I don't believe it, or you're just starting to believe it now, the message is the same. And the message is you can trust what you want. You don't have to settle. You don't have to make do. You actually can ask for 100% of what you want. And I will share with you some business advice that I got from one of my mentors in my 20s that I think about all the time, which is ask for 150% of what you want, because you're probably going to have to negotiate a little bit. So if you go in asking for even more than what you want and they try to negotiate you down, you're getting to what you wanted in the first place. Think that big. Okay, well, if I'm saying I really want 500, like what if you asked for 800? Then if they offer you 5, it's not that big. You're like, haha, that's what I really wanted in the first place. But if they say yes to the 8, you came away with even more. So it may feel for you, you may be in a place also of like what you want is very vague. You might not fully know what it is. Right now, it might just be like, I want to act. I want to sing. I want to help people. I want to start a business. I don't even know exactly what that looks like yet. It doesn't matter. It's enough to just start getting comfortable admitting what you want and saying, I don't actually know how that's going to look. I don't know how I'm going to get it, but this is what I want. Because how it's all going to look and how it's all going to work out, that's something you're going to figure out along the way once you start making moves. And this is true with everything. So often we think we have to like perfect everything in private and we can't let anybody see us like do anything or make any moves until we've already figured every step out and it's all perfected and we can present this like 25-step plan. That's all fear and perfectionism and scarcity. And you preemptively judging yourself because you think other people are going to judge you and tell you that the thing you want is unrealistic. So you want to make sure you have like this totally fully formed plan before you tell anybody. But that's not how shit works. The way shit works is you're out with your friends and you say, oh my God, you guys, I have this idea. Let me tell you what my idea is. And you start talking about your idea. And then one person is like, I know someone who does that. And another person is like, oh yeah, I know someone who could help you with that. Another person's like, ooh, have you thought about doing it this way? And the how starts to form because you've made a step, because you just put it out there in the world and you were willing to say, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I want. The more you give yourself permission to just get to know your own genuine desires, that's how you kick off the manifestation process. Like that's step number one. Get clear about your desire, admit your desire, start sharing the things that you want with trustworthy people who will encourage you, not your hater friends. And then the universe can start to meet you in what you really want and can start to deliver you those cooperative components because what you want wants you. Also, this is going to come up. A lot of the theme of this reading is about the people in your life. And I don't know if these are people actively in your life right now or the internalized voices of people who used to be in your life. But if there are people in your life who tend to shut you down or suggest to you that the thing that you want is impossible or you're asking for too much or your vision is like too grandiose, they need this healing too because that's their fear. That's their limiting belief, right? They're telling you, I don't believe that's possible for me. And therefore, when you tell me what you want, I have to believe it's not possible for you. So by you going after what you want, admitting what you want and going after it like it's possible, just witnessing you doing that, you can be an expander for them. You can also be a healing factor for them because they get to watch you and be like, damn, like, now I know someone who went after their dream and achieved it. And that lets me think maybe that's possible for me too. But also, whether that person chooses to be inspired by watching you do it, or they become haters and they're critical or fearful of your innate power, like that is up to them. It has nothing to do with you. So you're not doing it for them. And if you expanding doesn't expand them, you're not taking that on. But it's worth considering that anyone in your life who would try to shut you down or tell you that the things that you want aren't possible, it's because they need this healing, not because they're right. It's because they don't believe that things are possible for them, right? So whether you can see it or not, your desire is already on its way to you, and it's closer than you think right now. What you want does want you. And you're in a period right now where you're either going to believe it soon or you're already starting to believe it. Now, here's where we get into what's blocking you from believing it. And it's releasing allegiances. So, what I'm really getting the feeling of is like the block for you around believing what you want wants you. I think a lot of whoever this message is for, you were raised being told that the things that you want weren't possible. And that's true for most of my clients, right? For most artists, creatives, people in the healing arts, like even for entrepreneurs, right? For visionaries, for creatives, most of us are raised being told the thing that we love is not a real job, that it's so rare and so hard for anyone to make money doing this, and that it's such a long shot that you're going to be successful. And so this might be about your family. I'm getting the strong feeling from a lot of this that this is about family members, but it could also be spouses. Um, I've done lives about this before. It's really common for me with women and femme clients that the biggest hater person in their life, the biggest energetic block to them growing their business is their husband, and knowing that the relationship that they're in will not succeed if they become successful. if they become big, if they become who they want to be in the world, that their relationship is contingent upon them playing small, upon them keeping themselves 100% available for supporting someone else's dreams and someone else's career. So I really have the feeling that for a lot of you, the people around you are your biggest holdback. Now, it may not be that it's actually about them. This is very important. It might not be that the people around you are actively saying these things to you. It might be that this is mind reading on your part. This is what you think other people are going to think. It may be that you think other people are not going to love you, other people are not going to support you, that other people are not going to like back you in your dreams, and that you have to self-sacrifice in order to stay in relationships. So there's a chance that this is old programming from your childhood that is not actively coming from the people in your life right now, but it's still present in your relationships because that's how you're showing up. Or it could be that this is actively coming from the people in your life right now. It could go either way. If it's for you, take it. But you're just worried that if you start to claim some of your full desires, there's going to be people in your life who cannot support you. And what needs to happen right now, the reason that there's a block here is that you're afraid to let go of these relationships. You're afraid to either outgrow some of your relationships, you're afraid to end relationships, you're afraid to find out, right? Like if you're not sure whether these people will support you or not, you're just afraid they won't. You're afraid to find out either way. And you're clinging, right? You're clinging to the status quo of your current relationship dynamics. That's the block. So what it's called for right now is they call it releasing allegiances, letting go of others and turning toward yourself. You can see the figure on this card. She's like holding her own body. She's like really cuddling herself. It's time to hold yourself and let go of others for a little while. That is the block right now, is you're just so afraid of separation. You may be kind of starting to realize as you're looking at going after what you want, ooh, some of these relationships are really going to change. I'm going to be less available for some of these people, and I'm worried about what that's going to mean for our relationship. Or you're realizing, hey, some of these people will not be able to stay with me if I become really successful. You're realizing that you've gained everything you were meant to gain from some of the connections in your life, at least for a little while. You've given some things, you've received some things. Now it is time to let go. That feels like a struggle for you, right? That's the block, is that letting go feels like a struggle for you. Maybe you feel like it's ungrateful, like, oh, I've been through so much with this person, I can't let go. It's not fair. They haven't done anything wrong. I owe them something, right? Like you feel a struggle around letting go of others for a little while. You need to know that like letting go does not negate the value of what was shared in your relationship. It's just about you being in a period of expansion, and it's going to require some separation. It's going to require an inward turn. This card says that you've completed many cycles at the current vibrational frequency, the current level of consciousness that you're currently on. And now you have to release that in order for you to level up. You have earned the right to step out of this frequency, out of these habits, relationships, all of the possibilities that are limited by your current frequency. You've done enough here. It's time for you to expand into a higher timeline, a higher frequency. And when you do, it's going to bring enhanced love, enhanced relationships, greater empowerment, a greater peace into your life. And that's confirmed with the gift card that comes right out of this. You're going to have to take everything you've learned into your next level. But before you do that, you're going to have this period of separation and get focused inward. You need to step into solitude for a little while. And it's not about being lonely. This is not about being overwhelmed with loneliness. This is about being self-full. You need a period to reconnect with yourself. So you may have also been in a period of outward orientation where you've been focusing your energy on everybody else. Your energy hasn't been focused on your self-discovery or your own creative expression. You've been focused on the world of demands and schedules and showing up for others and doing everything everybody else wants you to do. And again, this may not be coming from them. This may be that you have a self-worth wound that has told you, in order to receive love, I have to bend over backwards and constantly give to others, and I can't say no. You're going to have to recalibrate that to have the success that you're looking for. And so you have to step back momentarily, even from your healthy relationships and commitments, in order to refresh your spirit by focusing on yourself. If this is really resonating for you, I have a program, a course on boundaries called The Art of Saying Yes Less, that is really for people who struggle to say no. And that's a pay what you want course. You can get it for $1. Just message me if you want it. Just message me and let me know that Art of Saying Yes Less is something you need, and I can get you that link. It is very straightforward and very simple, but in there, there's a program called the Yes Detox. That this is giving big yes detox to me, is that you need a period of time where you actually just say no to everything. Or in the Yes Detox, what I recommend is you say maybe to everything and ask everyone, can I get back to you in 24 hours? And you go through a little period where you don't give an immediate yes to anything. And you really sit with every single commitment before you make it and make sure that it's really aligned for you and that it's the most supportive for your goals. Like this energy that I'm getting about your block right now, like the current block, is you're afraid to say no to people. You're afraid to focus on yourself. You're afraid to start giving the energy that you give to other people to your own creative projects. And that has to change. And the way that the cards suggest is that like you do a period of time of really like shut down everything extracurricular and focus in just on yourself for a little while, quality time with you. This is not a punishment. This is a sign, right? This feeling of like, oh God, a bunch of my relationships are about to shift and that's scary that you might be feeling. It's not a punishment. It's a sign that all the inner work you've been doing on yourself up till this point is working, right? Your level of self-love has grown. Your level of willingness to trust that what you want wants you, your willingness to back yourself and go after what you want has grown. That's why you're coming into this time. Some of the connections in your life will mature along with you. They will be able to come with you into your next phase, and some will not. That's not something to be afraid of. You're going to know which connection is which because you're going to feel it. As you start to go inward, there's going to be people who support you and are like, hey, no problem. And you're going to learn, oh shit, there are people who genuinely fuck with me. And then there's going to be some people who try to guilt you and shame you. And you're going to be like, oh, these are the people who can't come to my next phase. You will feel that the most clearly if you first take a little time for separation from everybody and reconnection with yourself. This oracle also says if you've been contemplating changing your lifestyle by like enrolling in a program, getting a coach, joining a group, starting a project, setting aside time to really focus on your inner work, this is a really good time for you to do that right now. This is the time. Pour into yourself, back yourself, focus on yourself, divert resources to yourself and your own dreams. That's the move right now. If you've been saying, I'm going to do that later, I'm going to do that later, I'm going to do that later, that's the block. It's time to do that now. If you've been avoiding making your next moves because you realize that some of your relationships are going to end, and that's a scary thing for you, then that fear of separation is actually what's blocking your evolution at this point. And Spirit is saying you just need to go ahead and do what you know needs to be done. The final bit of wisdom in this oracle is that there is something going on, or there will be something happening soon where you need to back yourself up. And the thing that I'm getting from all of the cards that are coming is that when you start to separate from people, when you start to focus on yourself, there are going to be some people in your life who might guilt trip you, or they might try to increase their demands on you to test if you're really going to back yourself. I think based on the other cards that we have in this reading, that is going to happen. The oracles of this is be ready for that and don't back down. just because other people don't like your boundaries. In Art of Saying Yes Less, in my boundary course, I talk about how there are a lot of people who will perceive your boundaries as personal rejection and they react badly. That doesn't mean you need to back down to them and give them what they want. It's just about recognizing that's where they're at in their own emotional maturity. You need to stand your ground and stay aligned with your own truth when that happens. If something isn't right for you right now, it's not right for you right now. It may be right for you later, but right now you need to focus inward. Either way, you need to back yourself and not give in to the opinions of others, not be focused on what other people want you to do. It is highly likely that by you focusing on yourself, going after what you want, rerouting your resources, your energy into your own dreams, that you are breaking with tradition. The tradition of your family, the tradition of your ethnicity, the tradition of your gender, the systems that you have been indoctrinated into are breaking by you as the person you are in your body with your beliefs, with your dreams, saying, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sacrifice myself for others. I'm not going to give up the things I want to do. I'm not going to route all of my resources into others. I'm going to focus on me and go after what I want. Just by doing that, you are breaking tradition. You are breaking with belief systems that you have outgrown. There's a heavy sense from me based on this whole reading that this is really about familial, even ancestral training around who you're supposed to be in the world that you are breaking away from. It's time to be there for yourself because you are doing well. You're on the right path and you're growing, but some of your connections are preventing you from fully experiencing that, or the way you show up to your connections is preventing you from fully experiencing that and allowing yourself to step back from your relationships for a little while so that you can focus on yourself. Your fear of doing that is what's blocking you from having what you want. You need to trust yourself. You need to trust the period of isolation. There's that phrase, elevation requires separation. That's the block for you right now. You've been afraid to take that separation. You got to do it. Water sip, hold on. Okay. So, what's the gift that will come as a result of you being willing to take this period of separation to focus on yourself and what you want? It's conscious connections. It is increased intimacy in your relationships. So look, when you start being honest about who you are and what you want, when you start owning your no, which is a very important piece of information about your personality, what you don't like, what you're not available for, what you don't want to do is just as much a part of your personality is your yes, as what you are available for, as what you like. But if we're like, oh, I can't show anyone my no, I can't say no to anyone ever, I can't tell people what I don't like, we're denying people the opportunity to really get to know us. And then we feel lonely in our relationships. When you start owning what you want, when you start being willing to reroute more of your resources into yourself, you are actually creating the conditions to have deeper intimacy in your relationships. So you may be opening up the channel to have heart to heart, intimate conversations that actually salvage and restore some of your more challenging relationships, or you honor your differences and you're able to like consciously uncouple. Either way, this is going to be more possible after you take this period of introspection. It is not our job as human beings to judge each other. We're just here to love and be loved and to let go of the people who can't accept us and encourage us to be who we are. So the gift that you're going to receive from this period of being willing to step back and focus on yourself is that you're going to come into a greater trust in both the sanctity of the connections in your life that are going to stay and the wisdom that brings people in and out of your life right on schedule, right? Sometimes people are meant to leave our life. They're just meant to, and that's okay. Kindred spirits are going to enter your life. They're going to connect with you. They're going to deepen your feelings and they're going to like speak to your deeper feelings and your creativity. They're going to support your inspiration and your ideas and your dreams. And then there's other people who are going to come in for a season and leave, and that's okay. So if you've been craving greater intimacy in your relationships, which I'm guessing based on these cards that I'm seeing you are, because this is telling me that we have a lot of fear of judgment and we have a lot of fear of people not supporting us. We have a lot of acting, a lot of doing, a lot of forcefulness, a lot of giving because that's what we think we have to do in order to receive love and support. Then we are feeling a lack of intimacy. We feel unsupported. We don't feel seen. We don't feel loved. We feel like all of our relationships are contingent upon our effort and that other people don't give as much to us. That has to be how we're feeling based on what these cards are coming up with. And so we want deeper intimacy in our relationships. We want closeness. We want to be seen. And that's only going to come through your willingness to explore your true feelings, to start expressing your true needs and desires, and to allow relationships to either fall apart or come together according to the greater wisdom of life. It is okay to outgrow relationships sometimes, and it's okay to take time apart and then come back together stronger at a different time. Both of those things are okay. Your willingness to be open with the wisdom of life itself is what's going to allow you to forgive and be ready to move on, whether it's with the same person or with new people. The gift that's going to come out of you being willing to take this time alone and tuning into yourself is that you're going to develop this greater trust, right? Like we're moving out of scarcity. I can't lose anybody, even if I'm sacrificing myself. No, I'm not sacrificing myself, and some people are going to fall away. And I trust the process that brings people into and out of my life. I resist nothing. I just look for the lessons and the wisdom in every experience that I have with people and keep it pushing. That is what's going to come out of your willingness to really take this time to give to yourself. So, what is our guidance for how we deal with other people during this time? It's be the hunter, not the hunted. Y'all, the message just keeps getting repeated. Whoever this is for, you feel like you are constantly at the beck and call of circumstances, situations, relationships. Like it's like constantly being called away from doing what you want to do. There's always somebody who wants something from you. It never stops. I have some people in my life, clients, friends, who always say yes to stuff. Here's what happens when you always say yes to stuff. People keep asking you to do stuff because you become the person who always says yes. And they're like, well, I know I can ask that person because they always say yes. And then you feel like you're not allowed to say no, right? When you start saying no more often, it's not that people are just like, oh, well, that person's a bitch or an asshole. They just know either they stop asking, right? Which they may, or they're like, hey, I know you might not be available for this, but I thought I'd ask. And they're prepared for you to say no. They don't have the expectation that you're always going to say yes, right? And that only comes with you practicing saying no in your relationships. But you've been roped into being a support, a savior, a heal all for others. This card wants you to know there's a big difference between healthy, mutually supportive relationships and then ignoring your own journey out of misplaced guilt, shame, unworthiness, low self-worth, low self-esteem, scarcity, some belief that other people's needs and projects are more important than your own. That's got to go. That is not going to work anymore. The guidance for how you need to deal with other people during this time is you got to start saying no. And I think you've got to consider, if this is resonating for you, that there's always a payoff in our behavior. And what you get out of always being so busy helping everybody that you never have time to go after your own creativity is twofold. You get to kind of be a martyr, right? You get to be so nice. You get to be such a good person. You get to be the person who's such a good friend and so accommodating, and you never have to risk failure. You never have to risk exposure. You never have to risk going all the way in on your dream and being disappointed or having things be hard. So you get this 2-for-1 payoff of always being the really nice person and always being like the person who never has to try and find out that you don't succeed at something. You're protected from going all the way in on your dreams. You don't need that protection anymore. It's time to consider, have I adopted this way of being where I just give to everyone else and neglect myself because I'm actually scared of my own success. I'm actually scared at what's going to happen and what's going to change in my life when I really start to shine, when I really get visible, when I really start to put my work out there. I know my life is going to change and I'm afraid of that. And so if I just hide in, I'm so busy giving to everyone else, then I can avoid that altogether. You got to look at that. It's time. It is not a time to be neglectful of yourself. So, what may happen during this period of dealing with others, when you start to say no, when you start to say, hey, I'm not available, there may be some people who try to manipulate you, who kind of have tantrums, who want your attention, who are trying to test you. Don't respond to that. It is time to see through that and recognize that you can only change your response. That's how you're going to get out of this cycle. So you can be like, hey, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not available. You can be like, hey, it hurts my feelings when I tell you no and you put pressure on me. I don't like being guilted. And again, that's how we come into these conscious connections. When you back yourself, these relationships are either going to rise to meet the new you or they're going to fall away. And you're going to be like, oh, yeah, this is a person who only likes me if they don't even like me. They only like what I do for them. That's not a relationship for my future. That's not who I want to be around. I want to be with people who value my no. I want to be with people who are like, fuck yeah, I love that you're not available to help me because you're working on your own project. Fuck yes, project. Congratulations on the project. Can't wait to support your project. I'll ask you next time. Love you, bye. Those are the people you want. But the only way you're going to find out who's really for you and who's not is by starting to be honest with your no and to starting to like let people know, hey, I don't appreciate the pressure. I don't appreciate the guilt trip. If I tell you no, the answer's no, and I need you to honor that and support me, or we're going to have to reevaluate our connection. That's what's got to happen right now. You are capable of seeing the truth about yourself and others and seeing the truth about your relationships. You are capable of outsmarting your old patterns and responding more creatively so that you can develop new and improved relationships. You do not have to be drawn into other people's drama, other people's suffering, other people's tantrums, other people's guilt trips in the name of being in this repetitive struggle. I hear this a lot with people when we're talking about their parents. They're like, oh, it's not even worth it because I'm going to get this guilt trip. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. So I just give in because it's quote unquote easier. Like easier for who? It's easier for them. It's not easier for you. You're just prolonging your own suffering to delay theirs, right? So you being willing to be like, hey, I'm not going back into this cycle with you. I'm not doing this thing anymore. I'm not available for it. And that might upset you. I'm available to have a conversation about that, maybe if you are, but I'm not doing this for you anymore. I don't like that. There will always be people, there will usually be people who do not like it when you start setting boundaries. You can become intentional as long as you're willing to see the truth about yourself and about them. And when you do, you're going to be shown another way to do things. Your inner wisdom is going to be like, oh, actually, this wasn't that bad. I really see it now. I couldn't see it before. I wasn't really able to let myself admit before that this relationship only works if I self-sacrifice, which means I wasn't able to admit before that you don't really like me. You only like the way I serve you. You only like what I do for you. And now that I see it, it's so much easier for me to grieve, right? That might be sad. We might have to grieve the relationship, but now I'm able to do so and move forward in the name of backing myself, rerouting those resources and those energies into my own projects and creating my dreams, because that's what you're here to do. You did not come into this body, onto this planet to self-sacrifice to the point that you help other people with all their shit and you never achieve your dreams. That's not what you're here for, right? So once you see it, once you really let yourself see it, you're going to be able to make the moves that you need to make in terms of, again, letting relationships fall away where they need to fall away and come together where they need to come together. This is a really powerful time for you. You are stepping into this new phase of personal empowerment. And by backing yourself in this way, by starting to practice honoring your no with people and not giving in to other people's drama or guilt trips, you're stepping into a new level of freedom, which is going to create a new level of self-esteem and self-love. This thing that you've been missing, that you've been trying to perform your way into by over giving, by being so available for everybody else. And it's like a bottomless pit that can just never be filled because there's never enough you can give to prove you're worthy of love. What was always the answer, the thing that was always available for you to heal it, which feels so paradoxical, is just starting to say no and starting to back yourself and starting to take yourself out of relationships that are contingent upon you delivering in order to receive, so that you can step into relationships that are being based, where people want to give to you based on you being you. They want to give to you because they love you, because they value you. So your guidance for how you deal with the outside world during this period is trust what you feel, honor what's right for you, trust that you're being supported by nature itself in navigating this current life transition. You are developing a whole new way of being in the world. Advice from your spirit guides during this time on how to do this is softly, softly, the tender touch, which I believe we got in our last reading as well. This card is about the feminine wisdom of gentleness. When you're at a point in your life where you want to attain more, but you don't necessarily have more energy or more resources, it's time to work smarter, not harder. That is feminine wisdom. We are generally taught that the more force we use, the more we try to make things happen, the more we're going to achieve. That's not what the feminine way is about. This is not about driving, striving, grasping, pushing to create. This is about inviting what we want. It's about creating space for what we want and trusting that it's going to be provided for us, both internally and in our lives. This is about stepping into a method of creation that cultivates more energy, less stress. It allows you to have what you want by attraction rather than hustle. This is about creating what you want by invitation and by ease rather than will or force. You're being asked to let go of forcefulness, determination, intense activity, moving all the time. This is not about surrendering your goals or giving up. It's about letting go of the feeling that you're working your ass off and never getting anywhere. And based on these cards that we've had, I really think this is about relationships. Like, you have convinced yourself, or you've been convinced throughout your life, that the only way you're going to get anywhere and the only way you're going to get anywhere in your relationships and with people is if you prove yourself, if you give to get, if you're working really hard to earn love, approval, presence. I have to do all of these things in my relationships in order to have people support me. And you're feeling like no matter what I do, I'm just never getting anywhere. It's because that's not the way, right? It is a time to understand that manifestation comes from a more intelligent process. Manifestation is a way of creating that gives you energy rather than leaving you worn out. Manifestation is about beingness, being the vibrational match for the thing that you want to call in. So if you're being your full self, absolutely, naturally, with ease, you're shining your light, you're sharing your truth, you're going after what you want, you're being honest about your yeses and your nos, you're allowing your truth to radiate out and touch people around you, then you are creating an energetic affinity with the things that you want. But if you're showing up from lack and from need and from struggle, from fear, from, oh my God, I have to do the most to get the bare minimum, can we feel the difference in those two energetics just off rip? As you walk through the world, if you're operating from a place of not believing that what you want is possible, thinking you have to work really hard to get it, not believing that there are people who will love and support you just for you, you have to work really hard and constantly be there for others and self-sacrifice in order to be supported, then you are constantly showing up as a vibrational mismatch for the abundance that you're trying to call in, for the success that you're trying to call in. When you allow yourself to be fully yourself, to be seen for who and what you are, with faith that what you want wants you, with faith that there are going to be relationships that come and go because some people can't support you and some people can. When you do that, you create more space to attract more of what you want with less effort. When you feel that you're already an abundant being who gratefully invites more of what you want into your life, that's so different than operating from the feeling of lack or fear or wishing that everything would change for you, right? God, I wish everyone would just stop asking me to do stuff so I could focus on my projects. God, I wish that there just weren't so many things to do every night so that I could just focus on resting. I wish that there weren't always so many obligations so that I could focus on the things I want to do. Why are you asking the world to change for you when you're not willing to change for you? I know that one hit because I just heard my friend in the other room go, damn. I heard it. "Ee." Why are you asking the world to change for you when you're not willing to change for you? Why are we asking everyone else to, like, right? We're waiting forever for people to stop asking us, but we keep saying yes. So why would they stop asking us? We're waiting for there to be less things to do, but we're not willing to say no to anything. Why would we do that? It's up to you. Only you can change you. Only you can schedule your life the way that you want to schedule your life. Nothing is going to stop. The demands will always be there. There's always going to be people who want stuff from us. We are not obligated to say yes to everything. That's not what you're here to do. You are not here to be an endless revolving door source for everyone else. You're here to create your shit. You did not incarnate into a body to just constantly run around giving to everybody else and have nothing left for yourself. Period. I don't believe it, and I hope you don't either. This is very dress for the job you want, not the job you have energy. This is about like attracts like. This is about you dropping into, I'm already the version of myself who has everything I want. I'm already the version of myself who trusts that people love me for me. I'm already the version of myself that puts my energy, my resources, and my power behind my projects and going after what I want. And knowing that once you do that, everything is going to start to line up around you because you are being the vibrational match for what you're trying to call in. So this oracle's message is you don't need to push so hard. You don't need to push so hard to get the things that are already coming to you. You're pushing because there's part of you that doesn't really believe you're going to succeed. You're pushing because there's a part of you that doesn't believe you can have what you want. Anytime that we're pushing, we're striving, we're hustling, we're grinding, it's usually coming from lack. It's coming from fear because if we believed 100% that the thing that we wanted was inevitable, we wouldn't be pushing so hard. We would be chilling because we believe it's inevitable. It is time for you to relax and have more faith in yourself. It is time for you to drop into trust that all things come in the right time according to divine wisdom for everything on the planet, which means you're not immune to that. That is true for you too. It is okay to be softer, to feel the energy of what you want to attract in your life, and to act as much as possible like you already have it or you already believe it's on its way. One of the things I think about with this is like ordering things. If you order food at a restaurant, you don't then follow the server back to the like station where they plug the order in and like stare over their shoulder and go, are they entering it right? Because I don't trust that they're entering it right. You don't go back into the kitchen and hover over the chef and be like, you know what? You sit down, I'll cook it. I feel bad. You don't cook for me. It's okay. Let me do it. Let me do it. And in fact, don't cook the thing I ordered. I'm just going to make myself some toast. It's fine. You take a break. No, when you place an order, you trust that the thing that you're going to get is what you ordered. And so you just sit down and you chill out and you have a drink and you chat with your friend and you enjoy the time because you've placed your order and you trust that it's going to come. So when we think about our orders with the universe, our desires, the things we want, are we acting relaxed in our chair like we trust that the order has been placed and we're going to get what we want? Or are we acting like a psycho who doesn't believe that our order is going to come in? And so we have to keep checking it and we have to keep being diligent and we have to keep doing all this busy work because we can't really relax because we don't really trust that we're going to get what we want. We don't want to be in that place. We drop into the art of manifestation through beingness and through attraction. This is about becoming what you're seeking rather than hustling for scraps. This oracle wants to affirm you've been working really, really hard for a long time. You have learned a lot. You've proven you are capable of hustle. And now it's time to change your approach. You've actually worked so hard for so long that if you continue to push, it's going to start to have a negative effect now. It's going to stop working for you because it is just time for you to create on a much grander scale than what any one individual could manifest through willpower alone. And when we need to create big things, it's not about hustling harder. Again, it's about working smarter. It's about aligning those ideal relationships with people who are willing to help you. It's about stepping back. It's about getting ourselves in a position where we can be helped and supported rather than trying to grind and do everything ourselves. So the final advice for how we bring all of this into form is we focus on the light. And the light in this case is your why. Why do you want to create the things that you want to create? Why do you want to start the business? Why do you want to make this art project? Why do you want to do this work? When we're focused on our why, our true, and you know it's your real why when it like moves you to tears, when you really think about how important this is to you, the meaning that you feel in doing this, where it's just overwhelming to your little tender heart of like, oh my God, this work is so meaningful for me. This is what I feel like I'm on the planet to do. That's the thing we need to stay connected to, especially as we're going through the challenges with our relationships of starting to say no to people, having people not like it. The more we can stay connected to our big why, the more it's going to help us not give in to external pressure to abandon our mission. Is we're like, no, like the thing that I'm dedicated to is so much bigger than me. And I'm so dedicated to it. And I believe in it so deeply that you being upset with me is just a little hiccup in the grand scheme of where I'm headed. This oracle confirms like magic wants to happen for you. Synchronicity, perfect timing, opportunities, all the information needed to accomplish your goals are going to start to feel like they're just being drawn right to your door. You're going to feel like you can't even go outside without bumping into someone who wants to help you or something inspiring what you're trying to build. Now, the other thing to be aware of is that as things start to get easier, as you start implementing this advice, you start admitting what you want, you start releasing allegiances, you start focusing on the relationships that feed you, you start saying no to people, you start being unmanipulatable by people who want to take from you, you start really dropping into trusting that everything you want is going to work out. All of these signs and synchronicities are going to start to open up. All these people are going to start saying that they want to help you. Now, what might happen is that that's going to feel really uncomfortable. There may be some holy shit because you might notice that as things get easier and more opportunities and support for what you're trying to build come to you with ease, that actually makes you uncomfortable because you're not used to it. It might start to feel out of your depth. It might start to feel like, oh shit, this big project that I wanted to create that I thought was going to take a long time. Now it's happening really fast. And I don't know if I'm actually ready. And you may long for the comfort of going back to the old ways, even though the old ways were not serving you. They're familiar. And our brain frequently perceives change as a threat, even if it's positive change that we're trying to call in. So if striving and hustle and everything feeling hard and isolating and feeling like you have no help and no one's ever there for you and you just can't win because you do so much for other people that you just don't have time for yourself, if that's what's familiar, then suddenly feeling like you're self-prioritizing and everything's coming with so much ease and now that your projects are starting to blow up is going to feel really overwhelming. And so this card is just letting you know, like, that's understandable, but it would really suck for you to go back to your old way, for you to choose resistance over realizing your dreams. Any resistance or fear that you feel is going to inhibit the continued flow of abundance that you're calling in, right? Because now you're not operating in the field of being a vibrational match for what you're trying to call in. You're no longer operating in the field of alignment, in the field of abundance, in the field of certainty that what you want wants you. You start to vibrate in the direction of fear, of overwhelm, of, oh my God, what if this all happens too fast and I do a bad job and I'm not really ready? Well, who am I to think that I could do that? All that stuff might show up. All of that in Powerhouse Mastermind, that we call that the saboteur, right? That archetype of self-sabotage that's going to show up and try to protect you by pulling you back to your old way. You can't do that. When that shows up, you've got to reconnect to your heart, reconnect to your pure intentions, reconnect to how important this work is to you. Maybe write it down on all the mirrors in your house. Put it as the lock screen on your phone. Remind yourself constantly why you're doing all of this stuff that you're doing and how important it really is to you, so that anything else that's happening can happen without you taking it too personally. Okay, I'm scared right now. I'm not quitting. Okay, somebody else is upset right now. I'm not quitting because this thing that I want to do is so important to me and I believe in it so much. The more you can stay focused on the purity of your desire for the thing you want to create and why you want to create it, the easier this process is going to be. Don't get too caught up in thinking about the future, thinking about how big everything feels, what you're going to need to do later. None of that matters. And when you start thinking too far down the line of like, oh God, what if this succeeds too much? What if it gets too big, right? Like all of that, if that just feeds your fear, if that feeds your overwhelm, stay away from it. Stay focused on your clarity, your ability to manifest. And that's coming from being focused on how important the work is to you and how much you love it. Sometimes as we start growing and things start to be successful, we can get really caught up in then maintaining that success. So we can get focused on the money. We can get focused on, okay, well, now I have customers. Now I have people expecting things from me. I made one good thing. Now people want me to make more good things. I have to please my team members. You can start getting really focused on the bottom line. You can start being focused on power. All of these things can pull us away from the purity of why did I start this to begin with? Why did I get into this work in the first place? When that happens, we can lose the overall mission of what led us into our work in the first place, right? Why do you love this? The best thing we can do in these types of situations is keep returning our focus to the heart of why do I love this? Why did I start this in the first place? And when we focus on our own pure original motivation for our work, rather than focusing on money or influence or power, and it's not that those things are bad. Money's fine, power's fine, influence is fine. It's not that those things are bad, but they are a completely different vibration, and they can be focused on personal gain rather than the vibration of being focused on contribution to the collective. Usually when we're focused from the heart and from our why, the underlying energy of what's going on in our work, that's about contribution. It's about how important we think this thing is, not just for us, but for the world. And when we stay there, our creative projects, the energy behind our creative projects stay pure. When we stop focusing from the heart, the underlying energy of our projects can get contaminated with fear. Oh man, I just got interrupted. So let me know on Instagram if you lost audio. I apologize. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me. So when we stop focusing from the heart, then the underlying energy of what is under our projects can get contaminated with fear or greed or scarcity or overwhelm. Okay, you can hear me. Thank you for that. So this oracle brings you assurance that success of the highest order, whether that is commercial success, or just the success of personal fulfillment, it will manifest as a part of you staying focused on how highly valuable your offerings are to the world. So whether this is a project, a business, a creative project, you've got to stay focused on why you started this in the first place. Keep your focus on the purity of your desire to do good work through your creations, to help other people, to make beautiful things. Stay focused on your reasons behind the work and your love for the work that you're here to do. Stay focused on the mission, not your to-do list, and not the big far off goals if those things overwhelm you. Stay true to you and to like your heart place. Another little bit of this message that this card brings, and I think this is especially important given the kind of like overgiver martyry message we're getting across the board. Don't get distracted by other paths that show up right now. So say you start working on your thing and it's going really well, and then all of a sudden you start getting really juicy opportunities. Those might be tests, right? Oh, but these ones are so good, right? But the process, right, that you're working on right now is saying no to shit that's not your dream. Doesn't matter how good it is. Do not dilute your energy right now. Pursuing too many things is slowing down your success. Later, once the thing you're trying to build is more established, you may be able to diversify and explore other things. But for now, focus on this one main project you've been working on and know that success is going to come quickly if you do that. But be prepared, my overgivers. This may either be in the form of increased demands from the people around you, but it could also be, and I see this happen a lot with my overgivers. They start to set boundaries and say, okay, I'm going to start saying no to opportunities and I'm going to start really focusing in on doing my work. And then all of a sudden they start getting great opportunities, like really, really juicy, good ones, things that pay well. And they start being like, oh, well, maybe I'll focus on my own thing later because these opportunities are so good or they're so lucrative. I need the money. I got to do this. I got to do that. That's never going to end, right? That just brings us right back into that old circle of I constantly give up. I constantly step away from my projects in the name of giving to others. Over on YouTube, we've got some comments. Somebody says, I guess I need to relive my dreams I gave up on because without financial wealth, none is achievable. The grass ain't always greener in different yards. Absolutely. Yeah. So like, I want to be clear that I'm not ever overlooking the fact that like some of these obligations might be about money, right? Like, yes, we do need money. Sometimes we need money to make our projects happen. But it's really important for all of us to get thoughtful about, am I agreeing to work that is so physically demanding and low paying that I have nothing left over afterwards for my projects and that never ends, versus how can I get as creative as possible? Maybe I need to find a way to lower my expenses. Maybe I need to like see if I can find some remote work. Maybe I need to change everything to find some work that pays me enough, but still leaves me with the energy I need to focus energy, resources, time into my own projects. So I'm not overlooking that some of these obligations that run us ragged may be about things that pay us, and that's valid. We need to make money to survive, especially if the thing that you're creating isn't generating revenue yet. But there are still ways to get really creative within that and to get honest with ourselves about like sometimes we've gotten into a uncomfortable situation where we're doing work that is so low pay and high demand that it does not leave us with the resources we need, the time resources, the financial resources, the energy resources to build the things that we're really trying to build. And that is where we do have power. We can lower our expenses. It might not be ideal, but sometimes I also hear people getting a little bit right? Unwilling to make sacrifices for their goals, or they're willing to make certain sacrifices, but the sacrifices they're willing to make don't make sense, right? So I don't want to downsize my place. I don't want to have a period where I have a roommate. I don't want to go live at home for a little while, even though that option is open to me, because I won't like that. But meanwhile, I'm stuck and I'm constantly complaining about how I'm stuck and I can't put any focus into the thing that I say that I want to create. But there is a way. And so our willingness to get really creative and to get really clear with ourselves about how much we are willing to give for our own dream versus how much of ourselves we're willing to sacrifice to keep other people happy or to maintain the status quo. That is kind of the across the board message of this reading right now. So as always, I pulled a shadow card for us. What's the shadow of the season? And it's death. The old ways are dying. I'm going to read it to you straight from the book. This card signals an ending. A change or a metaphorical death is currently happening or on the horizon. You may feel that the universe is stripping things away from you. You may feel shaken, raw, and uncertain. This is okay. This period is preparation for what is to come. New adventure and abundance is making its way to you, and it needs space. Sometimes we can get too focused on the things we need to get rid of or the things that need to die, and we're not inviting new things into our lives. When we bring in more life, it's easier to allow things to die. If you find yourself in a period of death, try to incorporate some new things you can enjoy to create balance. 2025 in numerology is a 9 year. We're stepping into a 9 phase. At the top of this reading, I announced that a lot of things are changing with my business. I'm letting go of a lot of things in my business, a lot of my branding, a lot of projects that I've put a lot of time, effort, and energy into. It just feels right. We're coming into a period of endings, of closure. It is a time to let go of things that are not serving you so that you can really become the person that you're meant to be. And so I think this reading is just loud and clear that for my overgivers, for my people pleasers, for my constant hustlers, for those constant self-sacrificers among us, those days are over. It is time to let that go so that you can start to focus your energy, your resources, your love on the things that you want to create in this life and the person that you're meant to become. It is time. And yeah, you're probably going to lose some people. But I think the bigger thing is that this is about changing programming that you have, lack of self-worth wounds that you're carrying that tell you that people are not going to love you if you're not constantly self-sacrificing and agreeable and giving to them. That I think is the thing that you're letting go of. Coming into a period of recognizing that A, that's not true, and B, if it is true in your life, that's because you have stayed in, co-created, and been part of relationships that do not honor your wholeness, relationships that only function if you self-sacrifice because you got something out of it. And I'm not saying that to be harsh. We all have to be at cause for this stuff and realizing, yeah, I've stayed in a lot of relationships that only work if I self-sacrifice so that I can stay in my fear of success. And the reason I say fear of success and not fear of failure, this is something that Crystal, the Oracle, said that I think is so true. People who fear failure work their ass off in a way of, I will not let myself fail. I'm going to go wholeheartedly after the thing that I want because I'm so afraid of not succeeding that I have to overdo working on my stuff. I will step on anyone to get there. I'll work my ass off for success because I'm so afraid of failure. If we're avoiding taking the steps toward doing what we want, it's not because we're afraid of failure. We're comfortable with failure. We're failing every day. What we're afraid of is succeeding. I'm afraid of how big I'm going to get. I'm afraid of how big my life could get. I'm afraid of how good my life could get. I'm afraid of real love. I'm afraid of real intimacy. Whatever those things are that we're afraid of, we're staying in situations, relationships, and ways of being that allow us to stay small, allow us to hide behind martyrdom, to hide behind being too busy, because it prevents us from ever having to find out how big we really are, how good it can really get. That's the work that you're being called into. That's what's not going to continue into 2025. So that's the message I have for us. I feel read. I hope you feel read. I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback on this. You can leave me a chat or a comment on YouTube, on Instagram. If you're listening to this on the podcast, you can shoot me an email, intuitiveedgecoaching@gmail.com. Or of course, you can message me over on Instagram at intuitiveedgecoaching. And with that, being said, I will just recap. If you want support for this in the new year, I have a couple of one-on-one coaching spots open. It will be your absolute last chance if you're just starting out your business and want access to all of the courses, the coaching, and the community at a really low ticket price. There will be a 50% sale on Elemental Entrepreneurship Coven. It is the last time the doors will ever open because that program is totally going away and changing next year. Come to Mush Week. Okay. That is everything I've got for you. Thank you so much for those of you who are saying this was powerful. I really appreciate you. Kay, love you. Bye. And over on YouTube, is this a Capricorn channel? No, this reading is specifically for Capricorn season. So on the first day of every new astrological season, I give a reading for the collective. Welcome, it's your first time. I love that you're here. So like next time it will be Aquarius season. This is a reading for everyone at Capricorn season. Next time it'll be a reading for the whole collective for Aquarius season. So these are the themes, the messages that are coming through for everyone during this time of year specifically. So I hope you subscribe and you can go back through past seasons if you'd like and see some of the other readings. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, love you. Bye.